better. What you say? Cause I'm known to make a mountain out of molehill. You don't wanna get your phone killed. Got a tool in my pocket in the club, just rockin'. Watching these looking whitey girlfriend jackin'. They better let it go, but good looking's already know that I got everything with me and ain't just to let it go. I'm trying to mind my business though till I hear this look and say, yo, there ain't nobody I'm thinking I'm finna bust em. Wait, look up and see the police is looking at me. I tell C, he tell Doug, they tell K. We proceed to surround them and call a squirrel. Pick the perfect spot to make sure that the girls see. While watching off the dude drink, he say, what you think? Then call him. From then on, you can see nothing but ballin'. Remy Martin to the noggin, Betty bustin' wide open. And shit that in here hollering while he lying on the floor. Why you feeling sorry for him? He ain't for it. Listen, y'all, here come the moral of the story. What you say to me? See me and you know I'm too young. You don't wanna see me cut the food, bro. What you say? Let me find out just talking tough for your song. When you see me, you know what's up, boy, it's on. What you say? You see, cause I ain't been looking never. I'm just wanting all you suckin' would been better. What you say? Cause I'm known to make a mountain out of molehill. You don't wanna get your phone killed.
Rap music is something, ain't it? The way these pictures is painted. You swear these again is dangerous. The gangsters, they be saying. Lock them up in the booth with a half an ounce of that. Sit back and watch the outlandish they be trained. But soon as you see them, they freeze up like in museums. Them statues you like, is that the dude who said he was gonna? Ziggin' get running before you finish your sentence. And then they back to riffing when they off in the same distance. You like, you was just here, you disappeared like magicians. And then air, I'm like, damn, at least keep it consistent. I hear you baiting me lately. I've been doing my best just to say hey to free still. That's what you say to me. Sooner or later, I take you up on your offer and put you all in your place.
Watch what you say to me. I had to play that for Lila Smith, the queen of saying it better. So I thought that'd be an appropriate song for Watch What You Say. But peace, everybody. It's the guy with the bow tie checking in with you live for another edition of Business with Benefits. We want to say thank you to hashtag Team Live, hashtag Team Replay, however you consume the content. We appreciate it. Please let us know where you're watching from and how you're watching below in the comments. But to my right, you will have Lila Smith. How you doing, Lila?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so happy to see you. I've just wiped the sweat off my head from hiking, and I'm like ready for you to make me sweat. You know, ask me the hard questions, and nothing's off limits.
The hiking made you sweat. I won't do that. But I've been a fan of yours with your content you've had online for a while. You've been on LinkedIn for a good amount of time, and we kind of had to make this happen eventually. But some people might not know who you are, surprisingly. So for the people that have not been on LinkedIn more than 5 minutes, let them know who you are and what you do.
I'm so glad that there are people who are new to me, you know, and that's like most people on earth, because LinkedIn is just this little, you know, it's one platform, and there are a lot of people here, but my audience compared to the rest of the world is just this little slice, this little sliver, which means that there's so much potential for even more people to say things better and communicate their ideas in a way that connects, find relationships that can be deeper in their lives and improve them with communication. So I'm so glad that there are more people, which just means that there's more impact to be had.
Awesome. So I love your background, which I think I'm going to kind of dig into. Is a little different because your specialty is communication and saying things the right way. So there's a lot of people that have academic ways of that, like they studied communication in a certain kind of way, but you kind of have a different background. So kind of talk about your understanding of communication and where it came from.
Yeah, I have a theater background. So I also worked in e-commerce as my day job. So I'm also in with all the regular marketing stuff, but my approach to it comes from theater. Same as my approach to all communication, where storytelling matters, which is always, connecting with other people matters, which is always, and those are things that we really learn in theater. I was professional for 10 years in New York City and around the US on a few tours, and now I use that same stuff, the theater stuff I learned, to help other people to say things better themselves and in their businesses and personal lives.
Yeah, I like that because of the whole, as a creative person myself too, I find that this creative usually is not seen in business, but a lot of times that has a big influence on the way things are done in communication style. It might not do the numbers, it might not do the analytics, but in communication, that creative side helps a whole lot. So what are some things that you've taken from the theater world? Because some people on here have never acted, they've never sung a song before, they've never performed for anybody. What are some simple things that have helped you translate from the theater world to the business world in a big way?
Well, let me tell you a story. You know, before the pandemic and everything, there's a woman who was playing the same role in one off-Broadway show for over 30 years. And she never missed more than, I think, maybe 2 or 3 performances in that entire time. And while she is an incredible actress with incredible range, she's playing this one character. And every single night, her performance is a little bit different. Not because the words change, because the script is the script. And sometimes it's because the other actors around her change. You know, not everybody stays in one role for 30 years. But what really changes is her. From day to day, from moment to moment, she is changed. And as actors, we are constantly aware of what has changed in us through the lens of how we listen and hear other people and how we're affected by them. So that, I mean, it sounds like a simple thing, just listening and being present. But if you are in a moment and you are invested in that moment and in the person that you're talking to, even if you've said those same words before to somebody else, like introducing who you are and what you do, you know, your elevator pitch, if you're really focused on the person you're talking to, that moment has never happened before and will never happen again. So just staying in that little magic space where it's brand new is one of the most powerful things that theater taught me.
I love it. And I think that's challenging sometimes when you break that down in the social media space. I mean, because when you think about content, that's something you help people with. I can see that being very easy to apply in, I mean, not say easy, simple to apply in an actual conversation like one-to-one like we're doing. But in content creation, people might find that insurmountable, kind of difficult. So how do you do that and to break it down for people in a content creation point?
I think that's a great question. And no one's ever asked me that before. So I love that. Of course it's you, right? Like, of course you're asking me because you asked different questions and I was like, bring it, you know? And so you have. In content creation, when there's not a person in front of you, you have to look at the other things that define the moment. So let's say the scene is set because it's Veterans Day today. That's different than yesterday, and it's different than it will be tomorrow. Does that add some perspective to your tone, to the information you include in your post, to your audience and what they might be receiving if you're scheduling a post to happen on that day? It is, I mean, I'm in Dallas and it's a beautiful day out today. It's gorgeous out. If it was rainy, it might be different, you know, so you are different in the moment that you're talking. And your surroundings are different and the context of the moment is different. So just taking a moment to ask yourself why you're posting it now or on that date, and are you honoring that moment by giving it as much relevant magic as you can?
Perfect. There was a little delay in the internet. Sorry about that. Okay, so the context of the moment is the way. So don't just make posts and just kind of throw it out there, but actually think about where am I trying to land with this and what am I trying to say? And speaking of which, I'm going to bring the audience in real quick. We had some Team Live people here. We had Rosalind Krieger representing from Canada, Team Live.
Oh, I love her.
She's a ball player, definitely. I told her, and she introduced me to somebody today, and I said, if I had an affiliate link for all the time you introduced me, you'd be a billionaire.
You should make one.
So I guess there's nothing I'm paying for just to talk to me, but thank you to Team Canada. She actually said the election made me sweat.
Yeah.
Look, I'm in Georgia. How
do you think we felt?
Over here. Chris Wilson representing from Team Live. There we go.
Nice.
And then we had Suzanne. Suzanne's name isn't showing up. She's at the High Islander.
Oh, hi.
She's the best.
I love Manner. Yeah.
She's part of the reason I'm on.
Is that right?
Because of her Doug Lehman, with layman's terms, he said content creation be relevant in the moment and context stated.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Doug Lehman.
What you're saying. So let's break down. We're gonna now. You hear me okay?
It's breaking up a little bit.
Oh, come on.
It might just be one of
Light
those
delay. I think
internet.
it's a storm in my area.
Yeah? What's brewing?
Okay. All right, so we're back. I think we're back normal now. So there was something you mentioned about sometimes saying something in 15 words that you could say in 3 words, and people kind of resonated with that. So break that down, because I think men, we're short speaking usually, and most times, where and this is generality, so nobody beat me up for saying that, but just usually men are more short and women are usually, more colorful to their conversation in my experience. So how valuable is that in the social media space to take something that can be said in 15 words down to 3?
Well, I think regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, people who speak with fewer words know who they are. People who speak with a lot of words know who they are. Most of us, and I'm in that second category of people who use a lot of words, actually, we talk until we're sure we've landed a point. So a little bit of preparation, okay, and organization of what we want to say ahead of time can help us to be shorter in our delivery, get to the point faster, give it to people the way it will land with them, when it will land with them. And the importance of using fewer words is just that we don't have that much time with people before their attention shifts to something else. We want them with us in the moment, and we want to connect our message to them while we've got them.
Yeah, super important in social, because what is it, 7 seconds you have to catch someone's attention in today's day and age?
If that. If that.
If that. It makes me think
I don't give my attention to that many people.
I don't know. It makes me think of a book I'm catching back up on, Fierce Conversation. Have you heard of that book before?
Yes, yes.
It makes me think of the point of that book with the intentionality and just realizing that the relationship is a conversation. And for you guys that haven't read this book, it's something I got to revisit, because I realized myself that I don't communicate well all the time. So this is perfect for me as a self-reflection that the relationship is the conversation, and you're a pro at that. So what have you seen for things for small businesses that are having issues that you've been able to help them adjust to just simply by communication?
Well, often they're talking to themselves instead of to their customers or their clients. They're like, these are all the things that I've done. And so, I mean, the truth is that no one really cares that much about you, as much as I care about you personally, Daryl Perry. Most customers don't care that much about the businesses that they frequent or people that they hire. They don't really need to know about your qualifications or your whole history. They really want to know about how you're going to help them, what their situation might feel like or be like, how it will change because of you. And so one of the most frequent communication errors that I've seen small businesses make, and large businesses too, actually, is that they will just constantly talk about the things that they think are impressive about themselves. But I have to ask you, because you said that you have trouble communicating, or that you said that you're not that great a communicator, I want to ask you why you think that. What makes you say that? Because I have a very different experience of you.
I guess it's probably in personal settings that tonality is an issue I have, where my intention is exactly what I'm saying, and I'm just saying this, but my tone lands wrong sometimes. In my mind, I'm like, well, I don't have a tone, because when I think of tone, I think of like sarcastic or aggressive, and sometimes I'm just flat, like it's just monotone. There's no emotion to it.
The sound of your voice?
Yes, yeah, and that, and maybe emotionality to it, that there's not any emotional intonation to it, so that it comes off like I don't care, or I'm just being blunt when I'm just delivering something that I say is a fact, but it comes off like, well, that's rude. And I'm like, well, I didn't mean to be rude. My intention wasn't that. I was just saying this is X. So
can you give me an example, like a fact that you might feel might land bluntly?
I might say something about something the kids did. Maybe, for example, I'll say the kids did X. And
give me an example. Give me all of the all of the words.
We're getting deep with this. So let's say something like my kid. Let's say they broke something, okay, and I'll say, well, we let them do that, so they broke it. That's our fault. They let them do that. that it happened. And that comes off as I'm kind of like pointing a finger. I'm like, no, I'm saying that's the truth. We let them do that, so it got broken, so it's our fault. And
okay, so first of all, let me pause you there, because what you're stating is opinion, not fact. If you're saying it's our fault that they broke it, you're saying something as though it is fact. But what you're really saying is your opinion. It's my opinion that we could have done a better job of monitoring our kids, and we're sorry that they broke this. It's the difference between taking responsibility and stating an opinion as fact. Stating an opinion as fact is one of the greatest epidemics of poor communication on social media. So it's funny, because I thought that you were going to say something else. You know, I thought that you were going to give me an example of something like it's just fact that Joe Biden won more electoral college votes than Donald Trump in the most recent election. That is a fact. Even though that fact is being disputed, I could see how it might feel hot in the current climate. Still a fact. It's a fact, right? Different when you are expressing an opinion as fact. So just ask yourself, is there any possible way that someone could disagree with this? And then it's not a matter of disagreeing with fact, but you can say like, well, somebody else might think that the kids are responsible for themselves. You could probably see that other side. If you can see another side and it's not indisputable, then you have to think about how you want to deliver your opinions. And I think we're always more sensitive about how we deliver our opinions than how we deliver facts.
Yeah. Broke it down. We even had a comment, I think this is Suzanne, saying it's very true, opinion versus fact.
Yeah.
And I get stuck in the mind of, I go to that next step of like, this wouldn't have happened if this didn't happen. So to me, I make it fact in my mind, because like, well, that's true. That wouldn't happen if this didn't happen. Yeah. But you're right. That is, there's an argument to it.
Right. Just that question. And your mind works so fast too, right? And so does mine. So we share this challenge that we've already gone through all the steps and arrived at a conclusion with very good reason behind it. So we're like, fact. Right. But we ask ourselves, we have to literally stop ourselves and ask, could someone else disagree with this? And if the answer is yes, then it immediately shifts you into a more intentional, what you're calling tonality, but really it's intentions. What are your intentions when you express your opinion? And you've been in my Verb Your Values workshop. So in this case, it might be to repair or to recover. It might be that your intention is towards that person you're talking to, that you just want to connect, you want to relate, you decide before you communicate. And that's how you end up sounding different. Rather than focusing on what the tone of your voice sounds like, because anytime someone does that, they end up sounding like a crazy person.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah. I thought
a crazy person.
Younger person, I did not like my voice a whole lot, so I tried a lot of things that sound different, and it just comes off weird. So you're definitely right about that. We just had some live therapy. We had some live therapy with Lila right there. So if you guys didn't hear all that, you need to catch some replay on that. But Rosalind said, yes, Lila, short and long. I posted a short post today about how painting helped me weather the election. Oh,
I love that. Bringing the arts into everyday life, art as therapy, speaking my language, Rosalind, as always.
My wife loves painting as well, and she's probably going to thank you for helping me clarify my opinion versus fact thing as she watches this on replay.
Did she call you out on that sometimes? Does she say, like, you say this like it's a foregone conclusion, but you didn't ask me?
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah, definitely. I think a lot of men, I think that, I forgot who commented on the original post, that a lot of men, that was Trevor Houston. He's like, I hear this all the time too, that will say something, and it's like, my intention was good, but it's just, I skipped the opinion versus fact piece. So
you skip part of the conversation, right? That opinion versus fact, the distance between my thought and my expression is a conversation you're having in your head. So you're just having that conversation all by yourself, deciding what the conclusion will be, and then giving that to somebody else, which has excluded them from taking part in that conversation.
Yeah. That's definitely true. That's what I think about fierce conversation. The part she said was that all of our conversations are with ourselves, just sometimes other people are involved.
That's true.
I was like, budget. That's a T-shirt right there. So
Funny. Yeah.
You're true to this point that we skip ahead, and we don't do it from a place of ill. It's
No.
just like you said, you're thinking quickly, like, hey, I want to solve this, and I'm like a solver. I want to fix stuff.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, how do I solve the problem as quick as possible?
To restore. That's you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm restoring it so quickly that I skip the steps. I'm like, but I'm trying to. You said this is a problem. I'm trying to fix it. This is it. And
well, you're
up.
trying to fix things, right? Because it's so natural to you to do that you also have learned to associate that the value you bring to a situation is your ability to solve problems. So when someone is talking to you, you're like, surely they must want this piece of my value. Let me give it to them. How generous can I be? How many solutions can I provide? How fast can I get this problem out of their life so that at the end of their solving it, they'll remember me as the person who helped them. And it's very self-focused when we bring the things that we can before we ask what they're looking for. Like you hear somebody saying, I'm making Thanksgiving dinner. And you say, perfect, I can help. And then you show up, on the day of Thanksgiving with a turkey and cranberries and sweet potato pie and roasted Brussels sprouts, and like you have a whole macaroni and cheese, obviously, because it belongs at Thanksgiving. Some people have stuffing or dressing. You show up with all of the things that you think Thanksgiving would need. But what you have done is taken up their kitchen counter space, and you have essentially said to them, I didn't trust your cooking enough that I thought it wouldn't be a good Thanksgiving meal unless I cooked it myself. And so your intention is to go and provide, but the impact of that action is insulting. So that happens all the time in communication. You have to think about, whether someone's actually asked you for a turkey before you bring one, especially because it's heavy. We might be
You're breaking it down, Lila. The internet's messed with your breaking.
Am I back? I'm back. I think I'm back. All right. Give us a comment here if you can hear me, but you don't see Daryl. Otherwise, I know it's me. Is it me?
No, we're back now. You're bringing some. The internet's breaking. We had
We're breaking the internet.
Stephane. He said, Stephane. This is Stephane. Stephane, I always mess up your last name. Let me know. I need to do the sound thing, how to say your name. But he said clarity is based on facts. And it said clarity is needed to fight confusion. There's a comment he put there. And then Rosalind actually said, the Fixer, great show title. Well, thank you, Rosalind, for saying that.
The Fixer.
But as you mentioned, weird in the sales space, I do slow down. But when it's like in a personal setting, I guess I don't treat it the same way. And that's something you see a lot
when you're selling things to someone, are you checking in with them more frequently? Because you're like, how close am I to yes? How close am I to no? Did this piece of the value I'm trying to express to them, did that land, or is that not the thing? Are you just checking in with them more frequently?
I guess I think it's more a complex thing. So I'm kind of making it versus with the everyday thing. It's like, it's just regular life. So I don't think the check-in maybe subconsciously, because when people say I'm a great communicator on work, like I over communicate probably just to make sure this is what you wanted, right? Versus in personal settings, even with the kids, I'm just thinking like, let's just get it done. So I don't know if that's the thing you see a lot with leaders or business people, that one side of their life, they're a great communicator and one side they're not. Is that something you see commonly?
Yeah, it's about how high the stakes are that you place on that relationship in that moment. In a sales conversation, you think it's pretty high stakes because if that conversation goes well, you pay your mortgage next month, you pay your insurance fees next month, and you pay for your kids' dance classes and medical bills next month. Like you tie those things to the outcome of your sales conversation, so you treat it like it's high stakes. What you're calling the everyday things are also high stakes, but it doesn't feel as immediate because you feel like you'll have another chance to make it up too. If you're short with your kids once, and you have another 7 or 8 chances to make it up to them, then you're like, surely they'll forgive me, in favor of efficiency in this moment. And what happens is that we can end up kind of accidentally causing this damage to people in our day-to-day, everyday, regular lives by treating those people who are truly our most high stakes audience as though they are low stakes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I guess the mind hack for people is to think about the priority or the importance of that relationship. Because I do know, like when I mentioned, like I'm an introvert unless it's business. When it's business, I'm an extrovert. I can talk easily when it comes to business, but when I'm like in a social setting, I'll probably hang around the 5 people next to me and not go venture out. And always been that way. Just that's the way I kind of communicate. So when I think about your workshops, like in those settings, I can talk because we're in like a business workshop to talk about communicating. But if it was just like a Zoom happy hour, I probably wouldn't say a thing just because there's a different state to it. So what's something you do to kind of help people with that mind shift to help their communication get better in those moments where they need to be more present?
If you want to think about what will make a moment high stakes for you, people use the word visualization often. It's something that we did in theater. So before we would go on stage to play a very highly charged moment for a character, remember that like that's not a real person we're taking on stage with us. We're just taking the words that someone wrote for us. The real person is us. So we're taking a moment from, at least the way I was trained, taking a real moment from our real lives and imagining it, putting it into our minds, this thing that happened to us that takes us to an emotional outcome. And we're bringing that on stage and living it even through these other words. And it's a very powerful tool to keep you present and also bring the stakes to the stage. You can do that with these tools from theater that I learned too. So if you're in what you're considering like an everyday thing and you're rushing around at home, have a go-to moment, a go-to story that you can visualize in your head that will make it a higher stakes moment. And imagine that everything that you do serves that moment. So if you're a parent and you're rushing around and you've got kids and they're not listening, but you can visualize that kid saying to one of their friends, my daddy always listens to me. My dad, supports my dreams. My dad asks me a lot of questions. And if you can imagine them saying that to one of their friends and just have that moment in your head to go to, all of your communication is going to feel higher stakes so that you can serve that vision that you want to achieve in real life.
Breaking it down, Lila. This is like worth like $1,000 this hour we're having right here. So if you know, I mentioned that because your workshops.
Yeah, 4 hours for $1,000.
But I mean, you're doing this different model of this pay as you can model for your workshop. So
yeah,
let's break that down for people. I've been a part of your verb workshop. Oh, I think it's both of our internet's going crazy at the same time.
I see you back now, but I hear you're asking about the Verb Your Values workshop and the other workshops that I have.
Yeah, break that down for people that haven't seen that model of the pay as you can kind of model that you have.
This year has been a disaster for so many people, and I want to help. And this is something that I can do. Not everybody needs financial help right now, but some people do. So I offer my workshops as pay what you want throughout the end of the year at least. And that gives people the opportunity to come if they can even pay, $1. And if they can't pay $1 and you're negative 35 in your account, just use code HELP, all caps, on any of my workshops that I'm hosting myself, and it'll unlock totally free tickets through the end of the year. So if you want to improve your communication or your marketing efforts, I'm doing both. Every month I'm doing something that's purely about interpersonal communication, like these moments we've been going through on the show so far, and marketing stuff, whether that's your personal brand or the emails that you send out on your email marketing or the posts that you make that hopefully will get you sales. I did a Post Things Better workshop last month that Roslyn came to, actually, who's here with us today. And all of these workshops are intended to take stuff out of my head and put it into yours, you the audience, so that more and more people can continue to say things better.
And that makes me bring a question we have from Jennifer Orkin. She actually asked about audio, video versus
Yes.
text only and the impact of those things. So what's your take on some people say when you're in messaging, only do text, only do audio, only do video, kind of that, picking which one's the best for you. What do you think about combining them or separating them as far as going with post as well as with messaging?
I love that question from her. And I also love that in your question just now, kind of paraphrasing it, you said, which one is best for you?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I'll say. It's really not about you. It's what's best for your listener, what's best for your reader. And if you're thinking about what that moment is going to be for them, on LinkedIn, for example, you get to see an audio message, same as on your phone, you get like an audio message that somebody sends you. You're asking something of them before they hear anything you say. You're asking for their time and their focus when they hear your audio message without any context. So you're asking for a lot of trust from them that that's going to be worth their time. And it better be, right? So like if you're going to do that, if you're going to send an audio or a video message, it should be special. It should be personalized. It should have meaning to both you and them. And it should be something that you're not just sending to everybody. If you're creating video content, then you're giving so much more to your audience by giving them all of this, not just because we're all so great looking, and we are, but because we communicate so much more than what our words alone contain. With our bodies, our faces, people get to learn so much more about us. Video messages and audio messages, I think, are great for connecting. But in order to earn that trust before they actually listen to it or watch it, and also thinking about people who are hearing impaired, having captions or having another option, and you don't know who is and who isn't really. We just don't talk about it all that much. But thinking about them, give them a little text version of what you've recorded and say, hey, I really wanted you to hear my voice on this because it's important for me that you know how valuable I think your presence on this platform is. I've seen panels, and I'm describing in this voice note one of my memories from your most recent one, wanted to share. And so they have some context as to why you are also using audio. Just explain. And if you're doing a video post, assume that not everybody's in a position where they can watch that or watch that out loud. Some people have a baby on their lap, or they're driving, like they're going somewhere, they're in between things. There are other people in the car or wherever they are. They don't have their headphones by them, or they're not charged. I mean, just don't put barriers between your message and the person that you want to receive it. So also have text. I think if you're sending an audio or a video message or creating a post, make sure you have an appropriate amount of text to go with it too.
I think that's genius, because I think about when I send audio messages and don't see them opened, or they don't reply back something, I'm usually going to the negative, like, oh, they didn't listen to it. But I didn't think about the create a short version of it, because there's a guy I met a while ago that he had saw my content for probably 4 months. And he's like, oh, that's what your voice sounds like. I was like, huh? He's like, well, I'm at work whenever I use LinkedIn, so I never had the speakers on, so I've never heard your voice for the past 4 to 6 months. So that's why I was like, good thing I put caption on my videos that have something to say.
When you get those messages, and I get these too, like all the time, I'm like, okay, I'll get to that later. Like I'm running through things. If somebody just texts me, I can respond now if I see it and have a minute, but to take the time to go to the place where I'm in a good place to go and listen to the thing, it might mean that your message has to wait. And if that's true, it might wait for a long time. It might wait for months before I even remember that you sent me something, right? Because if you don't have a flag for follow-up option or something, then it just might get lost.
Yeah, LinkedIn messaging is notorious for not being easy to keep track of that. So it's very easy to, when your birthday comes up, you'll lose the message because you get 300 birthday messages. But Roz actually added something. She said 1 intent of listening, 2 listen to learn and not be right, and 3 don't interrupt. Breaking it down for us here.
I love that. Oh, that's my mom. Betty Rothbard is my mom. Yeah.
Hey, Mom. High stakes, yes. Perhaps also people consider that they feel they have to be their authentic. Yeah, authentic selves is a hard thing to do sometimes. So thanks for sharing that, Mom, to help break it
authentic is not the same thing as people hear authentic and they imagine instinct. What is the most natural, immediate thought that comes to my head when I want to respond to something? That must be my authentic self. But if all of our impulses were the only way that we discovered and expressed our authentic selves, we wouldn't do very well. Our instincts are not always right, and they're not always connective. So if we value our relationships, being authentic can be less about our impulses and instincts and more about our intentions. And that's why, intentional communication and verb your values as a tool specifically can help you to ask yourself what your intention is before you communicate, even for just 1/2 of a second. It makes a difference to remind yourself that the instinct is not the only authentic you, that also your intention is your authentic you.
I'm glad you said that, 'cause I feel like as we hear this phrase authentic self more and more, I feel like it becomes this monster sometimes of just like, I'm being my authentic self and I'm just saying whatever I feel and just being raw. And that's not good. I mean, people think that like Kanye West is authentic self, but he's back.
Probably is.
Right. But he needs to calm that down. Like, don't always be that's not a good thing.
I think he's actually getting exactly the results that he wants from his communication. I think that so is President Trump, by the way. He's an extremely divisive political figure. He said some of the nastiest things about people. He calls people names. That is his authentic self. Like, that's his communication. Right. That's what he's chosen. And he knows what the outcome of that is, and he's fine with it. So I would ask you, like, are you like a Kanye or a Trump? Like, is that really your authentic self? Truly, is that the best authentic self of yours that you want to bring to the world every day? Yeah. Like, we all want to be raw and we want to take it easy. We want to have things just come naturally to us. We want to be who we are without editing. But you don't actually have to edit the things that you say if you just think about what your intentions are before you say them.
Yes, I think filters are still important, that you should have filters, because it's kind of like when you go around your mom, there's some things you won't say around your mom that you could be being your authentic self, but you're around your mom. Like, I shouldn't say that around mom. I just know the situation. So
Joyce Moore has said Kanye has another internal authentic self going on. Bless his heart. Yeah, that's true. I mean, good call, Joyce. We have another kind of authentic. Yes, agreed, Dimitri. Visible, accessible.
Yeah, so
comments here. The people who are on Team Live are like really getting into it with each other and providing value, and I love that. Thank you all for doing that.
We have a good little community here. People like listening to me for some reason. I don't know why, but they like it. But
questions.
But that is important, I think, just because it's that catchphrase, authentic, be authentic, be authentic. And people don't always take the reality of that. That doesn't mean just, vomit on people. So there was one last question that somebody had to say, what are 3 key takeaways we should remember in communication with people? Like,
I like Rosalind's. Use hers.
He said Asimov's rules and thumbs for artificial intelligence. So what are like the 3 takeaways besides Rosalind? Because Rosalind has her model. But, as far as this saying it better, what are like some 3 big takeaways for, let's say, for content? We already talked about communication, the one-to-one. But in content, what are like 3 takeaways for saying it better in content?
It's the moment, the person, and the content. So the person is your audience, but the person is also you. So it's who's this person and who's that person. And if you just are aware of who those people are and how they might interact, imagine the conversation that you're beginning as you are posting something. It's like you say something first. That's what the post is. But if you treat it like a conversation opener, then you're much more intentional about what you're writing, because you're imagining how people will respond, what could come up, what kind of questions or pieces of extra value might be important to the conversation that you're starting. So just thinking about the person and then creating that moment. Creating a moment that gets people's attention can be using a hooky headline. It can be creating something visual that's stimulating and engaging and pulls people in and draws their attention. So creating that moment, understanding who the people are, and then the content. Is it actually valuable? Does it matter that you are starting this conversation right now. And if it doesn't matter, think again.
Ooh. You're gonna have a lot of people redoing their post today, like, I shouldn't post that. Lila said I didn't say it good enough.
I'm just asking you to think for yourself, like, does it matter?
No, that's very true, because I think in this platform, especially, I'm only on LinkedIn and I have YouTube as an archive, but I love the intentionality of LinkedIn, because when I tried other platforms, it was kind of like just throwing stuff into the wind. And I felt like Instagram was almost like it's just, hey, here's a picture. There's no meat to it. In those kind of platforms. And I know there's a way to work it, but
there is. Yeah, I know I did Post Things Better, the account-based content marketing workshop last month. I'll do it again next year. Not again before the end of the year, but Post Things Better was the name of it. And it's really about thinking about that person who can hire you because they are deeply involved in a conversation that you have added value to with this content. And if you're thinking about that person, what is the straw that will break their camel's back before they hire you? What's that moment in their day? And can you describe it and then create a post around that? You can do that on any social media platform. I was thinking about, I'm a member of Clubhouse, and on that platform, it's all audio. So, and currently no option for subtitles, but it's still very early in the social media platforms inception. And so right now I'm thinking about like, okay, well, what kind of room might I want to create? It's the same thing as like, what kind of post might I want to share on LinkedIn, or what kind of picture might I want to put up on Instagram? On Instagram, it's you put up a picture, but why? And if you're thinking about that person, what is the feeling? What is the moment? What is that straw you're going to remind them of with this picture? That it should take them there into that moment. And then the text that accompanies it should tell the story that they will already know because they're already living it, or they fear that they're about to, and give them some hope for what they can do moving forward. You can do that on any platform. You just think about how people are, how you get people's attention on that platform first. So on Clubhouse, it would be naming the room with something that would be, oh, I need to name my business today, or, oh, I don't actually have a title for my podcast. So I might create a room around just naming things and getting the right domain name and social media handles for your brand. And so just that title is like all you have before people decide to come in and really be part of the conversation.
Right.
Then you have the business with benefits. This whole graphic that people see is very attention grabbing. So that image really works to stop people scroll, as they're going through everything that they could be looking at. But also text posts with the first line as something engaging that describes a moment. Like the last person ever just asked you what you do for a living and left you standing there speechless. And then you describe how to say things better when you talk about what you do in the post. On Instagram, you want to show that moment and then, with an image. So you can do this on all different kinds of platforms, but the posts don't actually have to die there. If you make them with one specific person in mind, every social media platform that's asynchronous, meaning you can go back to the post anytime, you have the option to send a link to the post to someone. So if you're actually in conversation and you want to take them a little step further, or say, look, or demonstrate, I know your struggle, I know your life, I made this post for people just like you. And you actually made that person for them, for that person, but it's not what you say, and you give that person the post and it sparks something in them at a moment when you feel, because you're already in conversation with them, that they'll be open to it. They'll learn something from it, and they'll thank you for thinking of them. And then you're in conversation already.
Breaking it down, man. So you guys, listen, workshops, we're kind of workshopped out and webinared out. A lot of people kind of feel like, but Lila, you bring a lot of value with the workshops you do because they're real and they're not just reading a PowerPoint.
Yeah. We're just people. We have no slides. I use no slides. Right.
And I love that about that. I think that's when I kind of met Veronica Oswu more, was that seeing her in the workshop. And I kind of said, hey, let's talk about going live on the show. So that you kind of facilitated that. But
Great.
That's where I like that you're doing a real work. It's not just slides. So let people know again about how to find out more about your workshops, where to go, and then what they can expect from that.
Come to my LinkedIn profile under where it says up next on my LinkedIn profile in my about section. You'll see whatever I've got coming up. If it's one of my own workshops, you'll also see that it'll say pay what you want. And so feel free to do that. There's no judgment. There are no questions asked. If you can pay a full ticket price, go for it. But it's set up so that you don't have to. And if you need to, come for free, just let me know, and I'll make sure that you get a code to come in, or you can use code HELP in all caps. We'll unlock totally free tickets for this next one, which is on the 18th, and it's Verb Your Values in the evening, or if you're in Australia, this is actually one that you can make during the day. So I would love to see you there. Come follow my LinkedIn profile. And you can also go to saythingsbetter.com, message me through there, and I hope I will see you around. You can also find me at Lila Lasagna on most of the other social media platforms.
Perfect. Yeah, and there's some Australian people we have on here every once in a while, so they'll appreciate not having it be at midnight or or dawn when they usually do these live things on LinkedIn. But Lila, thank you again for coming on here. You mentioned we talked about election stuff, so everybody's been watching the show now. I've been talking about the election the entire time, so I thought I was done. But Georgia still has 2 Senate seats to go up for election right now. So if you have friends and family in Georgia want to move here for a few months, come on down. We have one last election to deal with on January 5th. So all my Georgia natives, January 5th is the runoff. So you participate in all elections, not just the big ones. You participate in all elections. I wish my younger self would have known that, but now I do. So January 5th is the runoff for everybody that needs to know the date. So tell your mammy, your pappy, your cousin, and them it's January 5th for that election. And we appreciate you coming on Business with Benefits. Please be safe. Please wear a mask and all that good stuff. The cases have hit a record high every single day, probably since the last week or so. So please take it seriously for somebody else. If you don't take it serious for yourself, take it serious for somebody else that you love or care about. We will see you guys next time. Thank you, Lila.
Thank you.